Hello, boys and girls. Lord Hawkeye here again. Seems a couple people wanted to start up with me again about my comments about the Hiroshima bombing. There was one matter I didn't raise at the time, but now that I see they insist on being as ridiculous as possible, I decided it's best I whip it out, so to speak. Now, let's just take a look at the argument that the Hiroshima jingoists want to use. Basically, it's based on three things. One, that the Japanese army raped, murdered, pillaged, and did a whole bunch of horrible stuff. Yes, I do acknowledge that. I do not need to be reminded of it every 2 seconds. Thank you. Anyways, okay, so they did a lot of bad stuff, alright? Secondly, that the Japanese were bombed, even though it wasn't the soldiers, they lived in the same country and thus were guilty by association. And invading them would have been far worse, therefore the Hiroshima bombing was the lesser evil, or something like that. That's the basic idea. Well, barring how really flimsy these arguments are, let's say they're all acceptable. Let's say that it's all acceptable. All the arguments for Hiroshima are all perfectly valid, perfectly justified. Still got a bit of a problem there. Well, think about this. At this very moment, America is engaged in a war overseas within our country. Soldiers there are guilty of murder, rape, and plundering, and whatever else. And pretty much all of them get away with it. Let's see now. Americans back home, not all of them are they're not engaged, they're not actually doing those things, but they do support it, and they are in the same place and thus are guilty by association. And to invade America would be far worse than simply bombing it. So, here's the kicker for you. You're probably way ahead of me on this. So, according to the very arguments the Hiroshima supporters want to use, it would be, if someone were to bomb America, they would be 100% justified in doing so. Think about that. I mean, I challenge anyone to find what's the difference. I challenge anybody out there to tell me, what is the difference? And you might say, oh, well, they're for a good cause, or blah, blah, blah. Yeah. That's what every single warmonger in history has ever said. So don't try that. So, moral of the story, before you ever try to make a moral argument or put any principle on the table, make sure you check for consistency. Because if you don't, people like me are going to call you out for it. That's today's little lesson. Till next time, be aware and be wise.